Hello, Thomas, and welcome to tomorrow as we're going to do insomnia racing tonight, but tomorrow at Australia at Caulfield. What's going on and what's the reasons for doing Caulfield this week?
Well, we have to pick something. But there's a bunch of graded races. They have 5 graded races or group races. And we did shot 10 with okay results.
Okay.
And we'll switch gears. The spring festivals are ending down there, so we're getting into the heart of the summer.
Hmm.
It's
And
not summer here.
no, living in Chicago, we're totally aware of that. I just came home from Florida this morning and it was 75 down there. Step off the plane up here and it's 40 something and raining and just got awful. And in any case, Thomas, we're going to go to Caulfield in Victoria. I think that is right. Australia. And right now the track is listed as good, but that's probably going to change because it's expected to rain all day there tomorrow or there today, as you can see there. But it's light rain as of right now, unlike the rain we're getting in Chicago. So you expect the track to get downgraded, Tom?
I would be very surprised if it did.
All right. Well, right now it's listed as good 4, so maybe it'll be somewhere like on the edge of good and what would you call it? Maybe soft or something along those lines.
Yeah, well, we have that that I think I sent it to you, the chart
Mm-hmm.
on how they do their grading of the tracks. And
Yeah.
at some point we should put that up when we do Australia to talk about. They're a little more detailed than most areas of the world where you just get the good to firm in places. It's very confusing.
Yeah, it can be, right?
Yeah,
For sure.
you
So
sit there and go, okay, well, what do you really mean?
well, the picks today, what do you think is going to be more difficult to understand, the picks or the actual races or the conditions?
The conditions, I think.
You think the conditions? All right.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be kind of tough to tell where the track is going to be with the rain overnight. So the first race we're going to do is race number 5, the one we have up on the screen here. Race number 5 is the Lamaro's Hotel Eclipse Stakes. They're going to run 1,800 meters. As you mentioned, it's a group 3, looking at 1,800 meters at the Caulfield racetrack. 1,800 meters is going to start here. They're going to go around and make 2 turns, but not a full loop around the track. Thomas, in this situation, with that tight turn over here, I'd probably want to be middle of the track with a little bit of closing ability. What do you think?
Yeah, I would say either that or sit back and make one big run. So we've got a mixed bag when you do the speed numbers and give us some ideas on what we've got, because
Yes.
it's kind of it's a little, we got one big speeder and then the rest of them.
It looks like Sir Lucan is going to try to keep up, but everybody else wants to be a little bit more patient, it looks like. So as they settle in, it does look like up in the front, you're going to have Keats and Just Folk, those 2 up front. Yeah, I mean, I do think in this situation, if you run right fractions, you can probably do all right up in here. But I'd probably want to sit in here, let these guys do all the work, and then close it out at the end. Let's see who will close it out at the end. It looks like it's going to be a mad dash to the front, except for the 2 speed horses, Sir Lucen and Keats. Thomas, I think with the 2 front runners, one of them will have a shot. What about you? What do you think?
I would be surprised if they didn't, but since this is the 5th race, we'll have some races before this, obviously, to get some idea of how the track is playing.
Mm-hmm.
So if the front runners are holding up, I think I would lean towards that. And if they don't, those mid-pack horses may be where you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And
so who do you got?
Yeah, well, with that, I took the 3. Ain't No Deludum. I don't know.
Ain't no deal done, my man.
Yeah. Oh, deal done. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm done. This horse is in the best form of its life right now, I think. It's not a young horse, but it's won 3 in a row, and bearing distance from 1,600 meters, 1,800 meters, and a little over 2,000 meters. The last win was against Group 3 Company, and it was by a head bob. Interestingly enough, this horse has also entered in a big dollar race on the next week. So I don't think it's going to get scratched, but it looks like it may be going for 2.
Mm-hmm.
And based on its form, do you blame it? I can't blame him. Number 2, Lucan was going to be my next choice. I had barrier 5. Tried the longer distance last time out and finished third. Now he cuts back, but he's never run this distance before. And the best I could find in the past performances that he ran 1,700 meters and did okay, not great. I just have a feeling, he's not done much in the past, lately, I should say. And then all of a sudden he hit third. So I'm thinking, coming to form and he's got some speed. I could see it hitting the board.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, I'm going to take number 7. Let's Roll the Dice, which is a perfect horse to play, right?
Yes, indeed.
Barrier 8. I'm sorry. Won on the lead last time out at Caulfield at this distance, but a little lesser of a race in an open company. The distance was good for it, so there. And what did they changed equipment last time out? They put blinkers on, and that made a difference. And yeah, technically the horse is moving up in class, but if you go back to its performances before, it's been with Group 1. It placed against in Group 1 company. It's won a Group 2 race. So if it's back in form, then from winning a lesser race, you got to think it's got the back class to suggest it could do well here.
Mm-hmm. Well, I started the same place you started, Thomas, with Ain't No Deal Done. This one's been stellar at today's distance, 4 times out, 3 wins and a close second. Every effort, all of its in the money efforts in its races so far have come on good track. You can see that here. I would say if the track can keep a close eye on that, if it gets downgraded to soft, then you might consider downgrading the horse as well. And I also did manage to find, it's not the same one you sent to me, Tom, but I think it does still serve the same purpose in terms of the track ratings at Australia. So here we go. I'll put that up in here real quick. You see firm, fast, firm 2, good 3 is good. So I don't know what the difference between those 2 is, and then over here you have good 4, which is where we are right now, is dead. So I don't, is that a good word to use in golf and horse racing? I don't think so.
Probably not.
Probably not. No, I agree.
Super firm. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe just kind of dull or something along those lines, or just, neutral, something, but I don't think dead is the right.
I don't think that's ideal.
But indeed, if the track does get downgraded, I would also consider downgrading. Ain't No Deal Done in the 5th race there, in the first of our insomnia races. Next up on the board for me after No Deal Done is the number 1 horse, Just Folk. That one's my second choice. Just Folk, its fall form right now, its current form is far better than what the horse had in the spring. So whatever they did in that time off is working. And this one's dropping in class a little bit. Last time out ran for $500,000. That purse cut down to $200,000 in here. Next up on my list is the 4 horse, Junipal. It's $8, 8-1 right now on Junipal. Last time out, this horse won at this level, has won on every single kind of track condition. So you can see, well, I don't know why it doesn't show a win on good, but it does have a win on good and soft, maybe just the different rankings in the past performances that I was looking at. And this one has performed fairly well at Caulfield. 7 races in the money in 7 of them. Again, a little bit different information here, but probably has something to do with the data provider. And then finally, the last horse for me is Let's Roll the Dice. Another 8-1 shot. It was your 3rd pick, my 4th pick in here. Thomas went wire to wire at Caulfield at a mile last time out, which is what they're running today. And going to step up a little bit in class, as you mentioned. I think it's probably ready for that time all the way around. So 3-1-4-7 for me in the first race for you and I, which is race 5 tonight or this morning at Caulfield.
One note, I've always wanted to ask this question to you, and I didn't. In group races or graded races, when they make an equipment change, do you look at that horse or do you toss the horse?
Honestly, I don't really pay a whole lot of attention to equipment change, minus perhaps like Lasix.
Well, I'm not. What I'm looking at is more the better class. A group, obviously, a group race is better than an allowance or whatever graded.
Mhm.
I've always kind of discarded the horse because they're screwing around.
But you feel like they
And
should know what they have already.
yeah, and if it's running in a lesser race, I'm going to look at it much harder than if I'm going to see it running in a more money race. I mean,
Mhm.
and the one horse here is getting an equipment change, and that's basically why I dismissed it.
Well, I mean, that'd be a lesson learned if it runs out of the money. But for me, when I'm trying to handicap, the entire process for me is just, to me, it's all about, hey, Richard De La Torre, how are you today? Lasix and blinkers need to watch that. Yeah, Lasix is the one for me, especially if the horses have early speed, because the Lasix and early speed combination tends to give the horse an additional boost at the end of the race, which is where they usually fade off before they get the Lasix. But for me, I mean, it's always that balance of trying to find a horse that's, moving up in form, but maybe didn't peak last time out, because, everybody's kind of looking at the same information. So it's a little bit of an art of trying to guess who's going to go up and who's going to come down. So I'm always trying to identify the horses that are going to continue trending up in form, or perhaps look out of form, but gave some hints last time out that maybe this time around they're going to go back to some bad class. And, so I feel like the distance and sometimes the track, those sorts of things, or where they are in their racing cycle, maybe, you look back in their past performances and the first race off the bench is always a blah race, but then you see a spark in the second race. So that's kind of where I'm at. I don't, and perhaps to my own detriment, I don't pay as much attention to equipment changes or, pedigree. Pedigree I pay attention to early on in their careers, but I think, like you said, Thomas, with the equipment changes and stuff like that, I think once you get 7, 8, 9 races deep into a horse's career, you kind of know what you got.
Yeah, pedigree after a while, the only thing I pay attention to is if they're switching surfaces.
Mm-hmm.
If they go from dirt to turf and there was some liking in either in the siblings or in the mare itself, that like any interest in running on the turf, then I definitely want to pay attention to that. Otherwise, yeah, no. I mean, once you've run a couple times, it doesn't matter how much money you paid for the horse. If it's not doing anything, it's not doing anything.
Like Dennis Green said, you are what your record says you are, right? Yeah. Was that Dennis Green? I don't know if that was Dennis Green. Yeah, whoever it was right. You are what your record says you are. In horse racing.
The one thing we don't have to worry about in Australia, there is no Lasix.
Mm-hmm. So race number 6 is what we're going to do next. This is the Kevin Heffernan Stakes. I have no idea who Kevin is. Do you, Mr. Thomas?
Nope.
And nor do I.
Your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah, and this one's going to be 1,400 meters. So we look at the 1,400 meters. You're going to start in the chute, come out here, maybe make that turn a little bit sharper than it is otherwise. Going to finish over here at the winning post. Again, I would imagine in this race, considering how quickly and on paper it looks like the turn because of the angle that they're attacking at, I would still probably want to be middle of the pack because I feel like a little bit of good positioning could be helpful. Thomas, what do you say?
I think any of the inside barrier positions are preferred over the outside because you're going to have to get either if you've got tactical speed and you can tuck in and you want some cover. I think that's a good thing for a horse that's going to be coming from back behind. But if I've got a speed horse, I want one of those inside barrier positions.
Get to that turn first.
Speaking of speed, first,
Crosshaven, and then Glint of Silver, but it looks like Glint of Silver is the quickest of them all, although there's plenty of them to keep them company. There's no question about that. As we look as the settling position, it does look like the front runners could be out there a little bit by themselves, as the majority of the field is middle back. In that scenario, I definitely want to have horse that's middle forward, unless something on the backside has a really aggressive late pace advantage. Looking at the closing speed, I don't see anybody with an aggressive late pace advantage. So again, I look at this speed map chart, Thomas, and I'm looking for a horse that's probably like here forward. I don't know that I want the 8 or the 1, but I probably pick them both in my picks. What about you?
I went a little off the track here and pick number 5, Love Tap, as my top choice. It has barrier 2.
Unfortunately, it's scratched.
That one is scratched. Okay,
yes.
that one I
so
did not
it now becomes somebody else becomes your top pick.
Yeah, that's correct. And it'll probably be scratched too. No, I'm kidding. Number 10, Unusual Culture is going to be my top choice then. Coming out on barrier 9. One at the BM90 level, and it's been moving up in class pretty consistently and doing okay. He's run 2 different types of races. He sat 4th and was running, with that pace, and then ran off the pace race. So versatility is not a bad thing.
No.
And with that, at this distance, this horse has 2 wins and 1 placing from 5 starts. I can't see why, without his recent form being the last 3 races, why it shouldn't have a great chance here. Next choice is going to be number 2, Vilnada. I don't know.
Villana. We'll go with
Villana. Okay, I'll go with
that.
Has been running against better horses in past 2 starts. But it's run some okay efforts. But ran okay last time against Group 1. Well, I think dropping to this level makes much more sense for this horse at this point in its career, based on its performance, and that's why I'm going to pick it.
Yeah, also look at that wet record, Tom, relative to the good record. So the trainer and the connections there, they're outside, doing everything they can do.
They're doing a rain dance.
Yes, to make it rain even more, for sure. I didn't put that one in my picks at 225. I started off with the 3-horse King Magnus. That one's at 6-1 for me, Thomas. King Magnus is absolutely a horse for the Caulfield course. Tried the track 6 times, 2 wins, 3 seconds in there. So should be a part of the mix at the end of the race. Next up for me is Inferno, the 1 horse. This one, the last couple of times, was running for $1 million or more. So pretty good size drop in class here. Only question for me, though, is the soft surface. It may not do as well as some of the others, but I think it can overcome that with the horse for the course. For the off the drop. Number 9 is the next choice for me. And so far, I haven't gotten myself with the here. We're going to get there in a minute. So Glint of Silver is the next choice for me at 16-1, Tom. So I'm going to go for a nice exacta trifecta in here. I think this one's going to be forwardly placed in here against the field that doesn't have a whole lot of speed, as we saw, but perhaps, I think it'll be forwardly placed in a good position. Good fan of the distance, 5 times out, a win a couple of seconds in the 3rd. And again, one that's done pretty good on a good surface. If it goes to soft, maybe downgrade it a little bit, but if it goes to heavy, upgrade it again. So apparently either likes really good or really bad footing, anything in the middle, it wants to take the day off. And then finally, my last pick is the 8-horse in here. Passero is the final choice for me. This one has, again, a good surface, going to be the key. I don't know if it's going to get it, but 4 wins in 9 races. Anything else, 1 of 11. But perhaps the distance is the key there, because 4 of its wins came in 12 races at the distance, only 1 coming at any other. So maybe it just caught a good track when it ran the right distance. We'll see which one of those 2 statistics wins over the other come tomorrow morning or late tonight for us here in the United States. Race number 7 in the 3rd of the 5 races we're going to do, Mr. Tom. This one is the Neds Sandown Guineas. I don't know who Ned is or Sandown, but 1,600 meters, they're going to run again, Tom. Well, wrong button right there. I'll include a link to what we just saw there, the free past performances over at horseracingtoday.net in a little bit. But 1,600 meters, they're going to start here, run up the field, come around, make that turn, come back home. Not a full turn in here, Tom. Again, we probably are looking for horses that'll be middle back with the longer run. Our speed map tells us early on there's plenty of pace in here. Sarasana, Pevovic, and Prevailed. Those three should be leading the way. It looks like they'll have a pretty good gap over the rest of the field. Vinny Air and Tom Waugh, they're going to be way, way, way back early on. Sorry, oops, wrong button. When they settle, it does look like pretty even field stretched out from front to back. So pace is going to be everything. At the end, it doesn't look like there's a huge difference between some of the late pace horses in there, Thomas. So I'd probably, again, be looking for horses that are settled into the middle of the track. How about you?
Yeah, I went a little farther back. I liked Vinier, who's got the number 8, and it's got barrier 8. First start of the season was a win. It was at a BM 64 level at 1,200 meters. Then it took on better horses in a Group 2 race at 1,400 and ran second. And then the last race was not as good. But it didn't have a great barrier position in that race, and I think that may have caused some of the issues. I also think adding winkers for the first time probably may have needed a race before. It's been running at lower levels. This is a jump up, but most of these horses are in that same situation because these are all 3-year-olds. Well, in our world, they're 2-year-olds.
Mm-hmm.
So based on the way the springtime, summer there versus it's not springtime out here.
No.
So I'm going to give it a shot. I could get a okay price. Number 2, Power of Brave. The Brave, I should say, has barrier 10. He's been at that BM 64 level, and he's had some success, but he's not winning. He's been placing, but not winning. He does have the pace to keep up. He's been doing a little more at the end as his races have gone along, and he appears to be an improving horse. The only negative with him is the draw. So he's going to need a trip and to be able to tuck in to have any kind of a chance. And finally, I'm going to take number 7, Sierra Sauce Ba with barrier 12. She raced in various companies from BM 64s up to Group 2 races. Group 3, I'm sorry. And she's done okay, but again, no winning efforts. What's the difference? The last race, she showed speed for the first time and was out towards the front. And moving up in distance may be the thing that she needs. Get a good pace or a moderate pace to give her a chance in this race. And she's going to have a bit of, like the 2 horse, going to have some work to do to get out of that barrier position to have a chance.
I'm going to start the same place you started, at Vivier as my top selection. Last time out, you look at the PPs, don't look very good at all, but was running for more than $1 million. So down in class here today. And if you just kind of dig through a little bit, the numbers, you'll see that the horse actually improved more than the finish looks. The drop in class, the difference maker here. I also have Power of the Brave, Tom, so I don't know what's going on in here between you and me. Hopefully the agreement is a good thing, but probably not good for the odds because what we see, everybody else will probably see. But I think this one is one that, as you mentioned, Tom, probably will be closing. And I feel like getting the extra distance here today will be a benefit. Also, look at the wet track. The horse has done pretty good there. So I think the horse is going to get a wet track. Arkansas Kid. I guess that's how they feel like we spell it in other parts of the world. At least phonetically, that's the way it should be spelled almost, right?
I
agree. Arkansas Kid. Arkansas Kid is the absolute same story as the 2 horse, Power of the Brave, except you can see here you're getting 5-2, and here you're getting 6-1. So I ranked them with the horse with the better odds on top. Finally, the 11 horse Mauricio is my final choice over here, 19-1 at the moment. This is a horse that was a really tough call for me over the 9 Sunset Dreaming. But when you look again at the horse's performances, for the most part, it's run 6 furlongs. Last time out, it ran 7 furlongs and closed in, just kind of missing at that distance. But the lone trip at 7.5 furlongs, which is the longest race the horse has, it actually won. So I feel like the mile will be a perfect distance. You put the horse at any other distance than a mile, and it hasn't performed as well. I think this is one that's going to benefit the most from the extra day runway today. So 8-2, 1 and 11 for me, my man. 2 horse races to go in Australia for you and I for Insomnia Racing. You planning on staying up all night, Tom?
I did last week. I watched the Japan Cup and watched Equinox do what I thought he would do, win pretty easily, and now he's retired.
Going to make a lot of money there, huh?
I would be very surprised they didn't. They made a lot of money with him on the track. I mean, the U.S. dollars was over $15 million.
And they'll play plenty of money with his duties off the track. Yeah. All right. Race number 8, 2 to go, is the Whispering Angel Zipping Classic. 2,400 meters. So this is going to be a long one, basically a little bit more than a full trip around the track. In this case, they'll start off jogging, folks. So don't really pay much attention to the early conditions unless somebody tries to just get out there by himself and win this race. And it looks like Denny Knowledge, if anybody's going to do that, the early pace numbers say Deny Knowledge is going to be the one that might try to get to the front and steal this one as they go into settling position. They are forecasting that one to have a little bit of an advantage over the rest of the field. So if it can run reasonable fractions, could have an advantage over the rest. But Deny Knowledge, really not that far off on the late pace numbers in here either, Thomas. So good chance that Deny Knowledge can get out to the front and have the late legs to hold on as they hit the wire. But I'd be expecting it to be close when they finally take the photo. How do you see it?
Yeah, I do too. And with that, I'm going to take number 4, Military Mission with barrier 8. Last race, it was in the Melbourne Cup, ran 10th. That's the biggest race in Australia. A little longer distance than this today. Dropping back, I think, helps. Has 8 starts at this distance. Has 2 wins and a placing. And he's only had 1 start at this track, and he won. I think with the little adjustment in class, his form seems to be okay. And, I think he's got a good chance of winning here. Number 10, Masa.
Let's see if we have any scratches in here. The 10 is in there. All right, beautiful.
10 is in, yeah.
Yeah.
Barrier 4. Won in the last 3 starts. Started at the BM78 level and been moving up to Group 3 in the last 2 races. This is an older horse, and I think this is really an interesting turnaround for this horse. Drops back a little in distance after winning. He's a mid-pack type, and he appears to want a nice, strong finish. Well, he's been doing it and doing it pretty consistently. Now, going up a little more in class, let's see if it can get the job done. Finally, I'm going to take number 7, Duke de Sisa, and that has barrier 2. Ran 3rd in a Group 3 at Flemington last out. It was an interesting run because it was close to the lead. Got past. On the turn, it was 7th after being, 3rd, 4th in that area. And then came back to run 3rd. So a little bit of joggling around, but results at this distance. Has 3 starts and 2 wins. That's always encouraging. And, I think it's got a nice chance to win this kind of a race, and we'll see what it can do.
Especially in a shortened field, right? Because all these scratches in here.
Yeah, well, it changes.
Yeah, I like the same horses probably that you do a little bit. I was going to start with the 9 Shakamova, but Shakamova is not going to run. So I only get 3 picks today. Like Thomas, I picked a lot of the same horses. I'm going to start with Muramasa as my top selection here. This one should be close to the front. Won 3 races in a row, and clearly the distance is not a problem because it ran 1.5 miles last time out. What could be a problem, though, is that most of the good work has been done on a good track, though it can perform on a soft. At the track 2 times out with a win and a second. If it gets to heavy, it'd be interesting to see what becomes of that horse. Military Mission is my next choice. I know that was your first choice, so we just kind of flip-flopped them around a little bit there. This one can run under any track conditions, so that's a plus. You see the good, the soft, the heavy, no matter what, that should be a plus for that horse. 1-for-1 at Caulfield, which happened to be at today's distance, and it was a $300,000 race, so clearly fits in here. Then finally, that front runner, Deny Knowledge, is going to get the third call and final call for me. Has been running for 7-figure races, now going to drop in class to 300 grand last time out, and won that race going wire to wire. Little step up in class, Tom, but I do think if it can get out front like we saw on that pace chart, could set the tone and could be difficult to run down at the end because the others do not have a strong enough late pace advantage, I feel, to just blow by that horse at the end. Should be competitive. Photo finish between those 3 horses, and they finish 1, 2, 3 in some order for the trifecta. Yeah, hopefully I just spoke it into existence. Last race of the day for you and me in Australia is going to be the Tile Importer Summoned Stakes. Going to go back to 1,600 meters. It is a Group 3 for 4-year-olds and up. For mares, 1,400. Started that. Was it 1,400 or 1,600? 1,600. They're going to start back in here, make that turn around the track. Come on home. By then, we should have a pretty good sense of how the track is playing. If the track is favoring early speed, you're going to be looking at Lady Jones, Zenzella, Forbidden City. If the track is keep pressing the wrong button. If it's favoring mid runners, well, you have a whole lot of them to pick from in there, Tom. They're all going to be kind of bunched up according to this. So it could be very much a tactical position race favoring horses with a little bit of late speed. And they all pretty close in there, Tom, except for Forbidden City and Zenzella. Based upon what we saw in the pace charts there, Tom, this race looks like it's wide open and anybody could win. So who do you think will?
Number 1, Revolutionary Miss from Barrier 10. Won its last out at Cranmore at 1,400 meters, and they made a change of equipment. They took the blinkers off, and that seemed to turn it around. But this horse has been running at much higher level, and if you look how much money it's won versus the rest of the field, it's won a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And it's been running against top rate in thing, and it's running at Caulfield, at Flemington, Group 3s, Group 2s. It hasn't shown a lot, but so I think dropping it down a little for last race, get it some confidence, bring it back. It's obviously got the ability, has shown it in the past. So I think it's going to return to its form as it did in the last race and do well at Caulfield again. Number 5, Lolo B, Barrier 2. She's been running in group races. Her last start of the season, and then she's not winning, but she's running okay. I mean, got a 4th here, and a 7th in a Group 2, and a 5th in a Group 3, and listed race was her first start and ran 3rd. If there's anything interesting about this change, they're making one change. They're adding a tongue tie. So I'm thinking maybe they think it's been having a little bit of a breathing problem and not finishing. And that tongue tie will certainly help. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to put it in there because why not? And finally, I'm going to take number 3, the Lass of Sophia, or Sophia. I don't know. I can never pronounce it.
I think you got to be careful with that one because that can come out a whole lot of different ways.
Or the Lass Sophia. I don't. Yeah. Okay. Whatever. Barrier 5. Except for her first race of the season, she's done well. Good efforts. Ran from way back last out and ran 5th at 2,000 meters, 2nd at 1,600 meters, a little closer to the pace, and then ran a 4th in the middle of the pack coming on. I think the drop back in distance and the company here, I think it's got a chance to do very well here.
All right, for the last time today, Tom, let's see where we have agreement and disagreement. I agree. Revolutionary Miss, top pick in here. Just looking at this horse, I think it looks like a standout class-wise relative to the rest. Certainly the most successful at the track and at the distance. Next up for me is number 6. Picaroon is the second choice. Picaroon has won 2 races in a row at a mile and 3 of 5 overall. As long as this track doesn't go to a heavy surface, you see it heavy 0-2, but everything else, the horses perform pretty well. Should be one to consider in here.
Yeah, it may like a little moisture in that track.
Yeah, but it looks like it can do all right on a good track too. It just doesn't like a lot of moisture. If the foot sinks too much in the dirt there, it's not going to be thrilled. The Mag Star, 71-1, Tom. There we go. This is the one, if nothing else hits the board or wins for me tonight or tomorrow, depending upon where you are in the world, I want this one to win. I'm going to take the bomb right here, Thomas. This horse won its last 2 races and potentially better in the 3rd start after a layoff. And you can see in its career, really hasn't really done all that much wrong. 6 races, 2 wins, a 2nd and a 3rd. Good track perform, soft track perform. Just stay off that heavy, Tom. And then finally, something all of us should do every single day for somebody around us. We should give them all a kind gesture, Thomas. I think that's always a good idea. This one is going to be closing. I don't think there's any question about that, Tom. And very likely to improve in its second up. You can see right here, the last time and the only time the horse has made a second start off a layoff, it ended up in the winner's enclosure. It's not the winner's circle. It's an enclosure down there. All right, Tom. Well, that wraps it up for us today at Australia for some insomnia racing. Tomorrow, tomorrow.
Well, not complete insomnia. They start about 8:30.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But by the time they get to our races, it'll be some parts of the country tomorrow as well.
Yes.
Next week, I think we got something big in store next week. Is that some big races?
We're going to figure out a little bit on the schedule wise, but we are going to see the main big 4 races in Hong Kong are allowed for foreign entries, which is not the norm, of course, in Hong Kong. But the local team is pretty good too. Golden 60 is going to run again, see what he can do. And he's been awful good. And Lucky Swayze is going to try to match strides, and he's done very well as a top sprinter. Highfield Princess is supposed to be starting in that sprint race. So we've seen her more than a few times, including last year's Breeders' Cup. And so interesting field and an international day at Shatan. That'll be on Sunday.
Beautiful. I'm looking forward to that. So to make sure you don't miss all that international good stuff with Tom and I for Foreign Fridays, make sure you hit the subscribe button while you're on YouTube, and then also the bell so when we go live, you are notified. You'll find out that Terry and I will do Parks on Monday and Tuesday of next week. Charles and I will do probably, I'm not quite sure what we'll do on Wednesday, maybe Tampa Bay Downs again, and for sure Aqueduct on Thursday. Gulfstream, though, is now in the championship meet. That started on December 1st, so we'll be mixing Gulfstream in there as well because that's where all the top jockeys and top horses and top trainers will be. Why not? Be in Miami for the winter. I mean, Tom, they're not dumb.
It certainly makes much more sense than Chicago in the winter. If you can do it.
Yeah, indeed. I agree. Maybe we should buy some horses and go down there with some claiming 5,000 types, Tom, and just write it off as a business expense. Of course, during the week, our good friend Swiss Army Sean and Betty Joe will get together with some of the top names in horse racing for Horse Center when they interview people for, long format interviews. You can chime in as well in the comment section. So make sure you do that. And of course, in the description below is a link to Guaranteed Tip Sheet where you can find some free picks every single day. Kindly use that so they know that it is where you are coming from. That wraps us up for this Foreign Friday. Thomas, any final thoughts before you and I head out into the cold, gray, dreary Midwest weather.
Yeah, well, it's springtime or late spring, almost summer in Australia, so you get to enjoy, even with a little rain, it'd still be a lot warmer than here.
Yeah, you can enjoy looking at it because you're not going to, for a lot of the country, get it if you get outside. Again, thanks for joining us. As always, we appreciate your time. We understand it's the most valuable commodity in the world. No matter what you're doing for the rest of this day or this weekend or until we get back together again, we certainly hope you have God's favor, God's grace, and every single thing you do ends up in
the winner's enclosure.
Absolutely. Have a fantastic weekend, folks. Look forward to spending some time together again.